the Jewish people, the people of the book, the Hebrews. We've gone by many names throughout history, but the name that perhaps means most to us in the modern era is Israel. In the Torah, we are called the children of Israel, and our ancient unified kingdom of 12 tribes was known as the Kingdom of Israel. And of course, today we have the modern state of Israel. The word Israel is derived from the Hebrew word Yisra, meaning those who struggle or wrestle with, and El, one of the many Hebrew names we have for God, which is invoked in our liturgy and throughout our sacred texts. We are the people whose name means those who struggle with God. And whether it is the name that has defined us as a people, or whether our peoplehood has given substance to the name, in the end, this word, this attitude, philosophy, dare we even say sport, may very well be the reason that of all the ancient civilizations, the Romans, the ancient Greeks, the ancient Persians, Babylonians, Assyrians, Akkadians, Sumerians, Hittites, only Israel has survived as a culture with a continuous world presence to this very day. What does a worldview that struggles with God have to do with our civilization's longevity, you ask? Let's investigate together. In Parshat Vayishlach, we encounter the name Israel for the very first time in the Torah. 14 years after Jacob cheated his brother Esav out of his father's greater blessing, Jacob and his family return to the land of Canaan to discover that his brother may still be seeking revenge. Hearing that Esav is on his way with 400 men, Jacob divides up his camp in order to protect his family. And in a moment when he finds himself completely alone, he's suddenly attacked by a stranger. The Torah tells us that Jacob and the stranger fought through the night until sunrise, when the stranger finally conceded defeat. Jacob, however, refuses to accept the stranger's surrender unless the stranger agrees to give him a blessing. "No longer will your name be Jacob, but you shall instead be called Yisrael," decrees the stranger. "For you have striven with beings both divine and human, and have prevailed." While the Torah can often be cryptic, this particular story is wonderfully so. The Torah never identifies the stranger, making a point of that fact several times by drawing our attention to the stranger's mysterious identity without ever revealing it. Traditional Jewish teaching suggests that the stranger was an angel sent by God. But the text all but begs us to read deeper. Names are extremely revealing in the Torah, and without knowing the stranger's name, our focus shifts to Jacob's name, or more specifically to his new name, Israel. This new name establishes Jacob's new character as a person who believes in struggling, engaging, persevering in the face of adversity. Yaakov, Jacob's old Hebrew name, had defined his character vis-a-vis his brother Esav, clinging to his brother's heel. That's what the name Yaakov means. But Israel is an independent and strong truth seeker who will go wherever the truth leads at any cost, even when, and perhaps especially when, that truth comes into conflict with deeply held beliefs. During the Middle Ages, while Christian Europe was torturing and murdering heretics, Muslim society was experiencing a golden age. Books were highly prized, filling immense libraries across the Abbasid Caliphate with works of literature, art, agriculture, engineering, mathematics, and astronomy. Words like algebra and algorithm are Arabic words. You might never have thought of it, but the first two letters are the giveaway. Even the symbols we use for our numbers are Arabic numerals. Muslim society would hold debates with Jews and Christian philosophers and theologians until the 10th century, when Persian philosopher Abu Nasr al-Farabi declared a moratorium on discussing the paradox of human free will and divine omnipotence because it made people uncomfortable. Later in the 12th century, an imam by the name of Hamid al-Ghazali for the first time in Muslim history, would codify the behavior of a good Muslim into a strict set of rules and beliefs, including the belief that the manipulation of numbers was the work of the devil. And all actions seen in nature must not be described in terms of physics, chemistry, and biology, but only as a result of God's will. Thus ended the intellectual golden age of Islam. And while Islam would rise again in the future, it would be a culture without science or innovation in the way it once was. To this day, while Muslims make up 16% of the world's population, only 0.5% of Nobel Prize awards in science are granted to individuals who identify as Muslim. In a 2018 CNN poll studying rising anti-Semitism in Europe, they asked Europeans what percentage of the world's population they believe is Jewish. 16% of all respondents said that they believed that Jews made up more than 20% of all human beings on Earth, which would correspond to about 1.6 billion Jews. That would be a perfectly respectable number next to the world's 2 billion Christians and 1.3 billion Muslims today, except that there are only about 18 or so million Jews in the world, making up only 0.2% of the global population. Only 2.2% of Americans are Jewish, according to Pew Research, and only slightly over 1% of Canadians, according to Berman Jewish Data Bank. You might ask, what percentage of Nobel Prize winners in science are Jewish? The answer is 25%. Of course, not every Jew is a Nobel laureate, but a culture that encourages creativity and curiosity, a culture that champions the academic process, the struggle for truth no matter where it may lead, a culture that has a yearning, even a love for the unanswered question. That is a culture that creates not only Nobel laureates, but also titans of industry and artistic geniuses from vaudeville to Hollywood. It's also that very same ability to struggle that is at the heart of Jewish resilience, our ability to survive as a people, withstanding the worst of what the world can throw at us. We are, now and always, unapologetically Jewish. And our struggle for truth is what always has and what always will keep us so in this crazy world we live in today.